What's up to all our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the Geek Nation? You're currently tuning into the CultPop podcast live stream, aka spoiler alert. This is episode 748. We're going to review the past week's comics as well as talk about some fun pop culture topics for your listening and viewing pleasure. Probably, if I had to guess, What If, the TV show. What If episode 1 dropped this week. So we're going to discuss that first episode. I'm your host, Johnny Destructo. This is my son. He's the owner of Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex, located at 4327 Main Street, Philadelphia, PA, a rad-ass shop for nerds of all shapes and sizes. This is the part where I write anything in the script and JD reads it. Yeah, you effing with some wet-ass P-word. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet-ass P-word. Give me everything you got for this wet-ass P-word. With me this morning are people of which I am fondish. First up is Brian Lieb.
Ooh.
Trains A and B are traveling in the same direction on parallel tracks. Train A is traveling at 60 miles per hour and train B is traveling at 70 miles per hour.
Okay.
Train A passes Pasessa Station at
Pasessa
20
Station.
p.m. If train B passes the same station at 12:32 p.m., at what time will the cafe car on train A serve lunch?
It was 12:42. The train always, when you pass the station, lunch starts. I mean, I guess you guys are used to no lunch train travel, which is fine. But yeah, of course. Yeah.
Also with us today is Len, the Bad Tribble. Len, in your opinion, what's the best non-animated Batman film?
The best non-animated Batman film would be two things. So it would be either Batman Begins, because it is actually the best full movie, not non-animated Batman, but the best piece of live action Batman is regrettably from BVS, which is the Batman warehouse scene.
Yeah.
It's not a full film. That's the best action sequence.
And also, I think the most Batman-like portrayal of Batman, the core of the character, not just that scene, but kind of like the costume and like all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a little murdery, but I mean,
that part's not great.
But he's murdery. But if that's supposed to be like the
murder Batman,
that's fed up with shit,
right? Yeah. That's true.
I remember in the watching the BBS tangent #BBS released the everything cut when they did the different version of, or the extended version of it, the Masters of the Universe cut. I don't know. They added in more murder, like in the PG-13 version. You know, he throws him against a wall, but then they digitally added in brain viscera on the wall.
Yeah, they did.
I'm like,
yeah,
come on.
Yeah, they added in a blood puddle.
How did that improve your movie? If anything, it just doubled down on the things that people probably had issue with, like Batman being a crazy murderer. It's like they just added in more hardcore. Weird. It was really funny.
Yeah, I noticed that too. That was pretty funny. Although it doesn't bother me in that particular movie because that is the character arc for him in that film.
right?
He's gone off the deep end.
Yeah.
Right. Which is something that has happened to Batman not main continuity as much, but there's some solid alternate universe stuff like Dark Knight Returns where that happened.
Last and gleefully so, Noel, say hi, you nerd.
Hi.
Anyway, thank you to everyone joining us live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. If you like what we're doing here, please be sure to comment, subscribe, and share. Comment below, because that's half the fun of doing this. Besides hanging out with these numbskulls, we get to chat with you. I'm sorry. They're not numbskulls. He's defending your honor, guys.
All right.
Before kicking off the show, we have an announcement to make. Drum roll, please. We will not be streaming next Sunday or any Sunday after that. We're moving to Monday nights. Starting Monday, August 23rd, and going forward. So yeah, we're because I don't know if you've noticed anyone. He's pretty incognito. I've got this very loud chunky boy. Chunky boy. That's BOI. And he makes it very difficult to do a podcast on Sunday mornings. So Monday nights, he'll be asleep. Hopefully.
Have we?
What time are we doing?
I was gonna say we probably shouldn't do this live, but did we nail down an actual time? Was it 8:30, 8:45?
No.
What's going on?
We bounced around between 8:30 and 9. We'd love to hear from you, the listeners, about it. And then make our decision separately from what you said.
Belay that order. We would prefer to come up with a time on our own and ask that you are able to join us at that time.
Yeah. It'll probably be like 8:30.
Yeah.
Right?
We're on Kai time, so you got to tell us.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for what time you should stay tuned at.
Actually, you know what? Let's do over/under bets. I'm thinking it's going to be closer to 8:45 starts.
I'm thinking it's going to be 9.
I'm being optimistic about the reality in my head that is 9 o'clock.
Sweet.
This Monday, not tomorrow Monday, but this upcoming Monday, 9 p.m. is when we will be going live. Dan H says, good morning. Action Figure Expert says, hello. What's going on? How you guys doing today? We're great. And Jenny says, I don't know. Nothing that has to do with anything that's going on right now. Robot girlfriends, human boyfriends, three-way relationship, the usual. People pop. Well, okay, we've got letters.
We got letters?
We have letters?
We have letter.
Letter.
So it's from Christopher Goodnight, and the title of the letter is "So Noel is Anti-Semantic." Is the takeaway from last week's episode. Just kidding. Couldn't resist. On miniseries, what do you think is the proper length for a miniseries? And he's talking about comic books. Personally, I think 10 to 12 issues. They fit perfectly in a store folio case, and it keeps them from getting lost in a small or large comic box. If you do more than 13, it doesn't fit. And 13 is too small for an omnibus. An omnibus should be anywhere between 30 to 60. You should be able to fit every issue from a comic series in an omnibus. You can get a few nice hardcover collections, but if they are too small, then you aren't really getting your money's worth. If I'm spending $20 to $30 on a hardcover, I want the whole story. I don't want to have to spend the same amount 8 weeks later when the next part of the story is out in hardcover. Chris, St. Saucy, good night. P.S. What about that Why the Last Man trailer? I hope it does the show justice. The first season is 10 episodes, and it looked like I saw a scene from the cruise ship in it already, which I thought came much later than the first 10 issues. So thank you, Chris St. Saucy. Good night. Proper length for a mini-series. What? That's the thing. Okay, so a mini-series is like 6 issues.
6 to 8, yeah.
12 issues is a maxi series.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I think that's semantics, whether or not, because 12 issues can still be considered a mini series if that's the whole story. So,
apparently I'm also anti-semantics.
I think it's like much is dictated by the story itself. There are some stories that 5 or 6 issues is really good, and then there's other ones that should be 12 issues. But I do agree with him on the collection stand part of things. It bugs me when there are 2 parts in a limited series. Like, the point of a collection is that it is the entire thing collected. At least that's what I want it to be.
That's a catch-22 though for publishers. So like something like Far Sector, they waited a year and change more because of the pandemic, because they decided to collect it all in 12 to get new readers on. Whereas say something like Doomsday Clock, they collected the first 6 and incentivized people to start picking it up in issues.
I suppose.
Which one's better, right?
No, see, I disagree because with Far Sector, I think that was a publishing strategy. With Doomsday, I think that was them trying to make the best out of a late ass book.
Oh, that's true.
That was like over 2 years that those 12 issues took.
In general, they still kind of do it. So like, let's even the new Swamp Thing by Ram V started in Future State. They just solicited a trade for the first 4 issues because it's supposed to be a 10-issue thing, because they want to, get some groundswell for this series that hasn't ended yet.
I guess that does work,
as opposed to wait
for those reasons.
Almost 2 years.
Those do make sense. I was thinking of it more from a, I don't know, aesthetic standpoint. Yeah, as a reader. Right, exactly.
Have you guys seen, they've done this. If they just want to get people to check out a book, I don't think the 4-issue trade paperback is entirely necessary. I think, sometimes they put out those perfect bound, like 3 issues in 1 issue. It's still a floppy, but it's like, hey, here's the first 3 issues of this series that's out now. If you want to, an easy jump on point.
That is a good idea.
Yeah, I like those.
They did that with the I also like they did that with some of the Future State stuff, right? You accidentally ordered too many of them. What was it? Teen Titans. Because it was like Teen Titans #1, but it was really 1 and 2 together.
Yeah.
Correction though, the Swamp Thing is 6 issues because it's the first 4 of the mini and then the Future State stuff.
Oh, cool. I hear that's actually very good.
Yeah, so do I. So but I don't need another monthly title personally. So that would be something that I would maybe look into and trade. And if I fell in love with it, then I'll not wait.
Yeah.
I buy comics in trade, and I don't mind buying them in trade. However, if it is a mini series, because I buy trades, would prefer for it to be at least 8 to 12 issues, just because I think that's a little bit more substantial of a book. I find that more often than not, when it is 6 issues, then there's almost always going to be a sequel that comes up, and then there's going to be a collection of the 12 anyway. So I would just as soon as just knock out your whole 12. Now, unless like they say, if you it's going to take you years in between the issues, such as Saga, then you collect it as you will. But I prefer for it to be 8 to 12. And to me, that would be the perfect length for a good series.
He mentions omnibuses. I mean, I feel like I can speak eloquently to omnibuses, but I think he said something along the lines of the perfect length is 30 to 60 issues. Do you have any idea how big a 60-issue omnibus would be? Not openable.
See, I know the physical limitations are what they are, but there's a piece of me that is annoyed that they call a multiple volume thing an omnibus.
Right.
Just because an omnibus is all of it,
Yep.
Well, wait.
The same thing with Jason Aaron's complete collection Thor, volumes 1 through 4. It's not a complete collection.
Wait, so having 2 volumes of an omnibus of a long run is incorrect?
I think of omnibus as being a book that is the totality of the thing. And I understand that you cannot have something like a Justice League omnibus, which would be 70 feet wide and impossible to open. But when they call it an omnibus, I'm just that's not an omnibus.
Well, the definition,
but that's the same thing.
A volume containing several novels or other items previously published separately.
Oh, interesting.
Now, it doesn't say that it has to be all of
total thing. Oh,
yeah, Mr. Calm, you're wrong.
But Omni, it has the word Omni in it, and also bus for some reason.
And also bus, yeah.
Right.
Every bus.
All the buses.
Let's see. Danny says, I decided to wait for a collected edition for Far Sector, and I feel like I've been waiting forever. That's because you have
September. It comes out in September.
Yeah. The perfect size for an omnibus is 25 to 40 issues or 40 something issues. Why the Last Man, for the next topic, is actually in omnibus. It's all 60 something issues, and it's a beast it's not very easy to navigate as a large book. It's nothing but gutter loss. So like there's certain things that I think would be great in, and there's other things that you should probably just
keep it in trade.
Yeah. Well, I like oversized art a lot. So I'm a big fan of deluxe editions. So like, you know, if the omnibus is too crazy, then, you know, a 12 issue nice oversized hardcover of that Pia Guerra art.
I like oversized art too. I don't need an omnibus of oversized art. That's just a book of paintings. Like I don't need that.
Justin says the Bone Omnibus collects everything and is 1,300 pages and is a bear to read.
But it's small. It's small. It's a nice size. You can actually read it. It reads like a big like a Bible, and it's no gutter loss to it.
Yeah, that was a good series.
This is too much, right? This is too much.
That's 50 issues, isn't it?
Yeah, 50 issues. Too much. Yeah. Like this would
is
be
it
hard
too
to
much
read towards the middle.
Okay. Yeah, like for practicality.
It's not too much in like I only wanted this many and I'm full. No, it's too much as in the practicality of reading this in any other space is difficult. Like I often read in bed. I was reading the new 52 Justice League last night, the omnibus, and it's a decenter size and it's easy to just like hold up. Whereas this, I'd have to sit at a table no matter what.
Yeah,
that's actually why I don't really like hardcover books like prose novels. I always go with trade paperback, trades paperbacks. They're just so much easier to read, and it has taken me a little while to be like, the hardcovers for comics though are pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they often also are like a little bit better, glossier pages or whatever. The Batman Universe one was glossier in hardcover, and I'm like, this really needs the gloss. But yeah, it is a kind of a different experience.
How 2814 says, hey JD, how was Free Comic Book Day at your store yesterday? That's right. Yesterday was Free Comic Book Day. I hope everyone had a fun and prosperous fun. Yeah. I don't know. Free Comic Book Day. It was very nice. It wasn't as big as other Free Comic Book Days at my shop, which I'm fine with because, COVID cases are on the rise. So I didn't want to be having too many people up in my joint.
How do you feel about the new date?
Was there a new date? What was yesterday?
Well,
it's usually the first. It's usually the first weekend of May, right?
Yeah,
I don't care.
I mean, is this to be a permanent change, or that was just because they couldn't?
I don't know. Last year they spread it out to multiple days for COVID to not get traffic, and then this year, under the same pretenses, it's in in August. I don't know if it's going to go back to it because the whole idea usually was that May date coordinated with whatever giant superhero movie came out the first weekend of May, which
started with the first Spider-Man film.
Yeah. Or more.
Did it really? Yeah, I didn't realize.
Yeah. I think it was the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
Bless you.
Yeah. And Jenny says, I've watched a few episodes of Stargirl, and oh my God, it was so good. Told you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. That's awesome.
I'm quite into it. The season premiere was just this past week, and it was really good.
Nice.
Yeah.
What just started? Something else just started. Oh, what if?
Yeah.
If you guys want to email us, you can go to you can email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com. And that's it. Let's get on to the week's books. What do you think? You agree with me? Batman 89, #1 from DC Comics by Sam Hamm and Joe Quinones. Step back into the Gotham of Tim Burton's seminal classic Batman movies. Batman 89 pulls on a number of threads left dangling by the prolific director. Gotham becomes torn too, as citizens dressed as Batman and the Joker duke it out on the streets. As DA Harvey Dent tries to keep the city together, he targets the one problem tearing it apart: Batman. And he'll get Bruce Wayne's help in taking down the Dark Knight. That's right. I'm sorry. I just saw Dan H's comment. It was Titans season 2. That's the other thing I was thinking of. I just watched the first episode of the new season. Anyway, I was so excited. Anyone who's been listening to my dumbass podcast for the past 10 odd years knows that there are two periods of time delineation in my childhood. There is pre-Batman 89 and after Batman 89. Post, pre and post. So they're both P.
It's
B.
It's pre-Burt. It's
Very
it's
difficult to
pre-Burt,
abbreviate.
pre-Burton, post-Burton. Those are the eras of your life.
So I was super stoked. I remember when Joe Quinones had done sketches about Batman 1989 years ago on Twitter. He was showing them, and I was so excited. They got Catwoman and Penguin and the Batman. I just thought they were so great. And so I was pretty bummed that it never got picked up. I was like, what a great idea. I bet there's plenty of people out there who would enjoy Batman 1999 as a comic book series. And so they finally did it. They did that. And they're also coming out with Superman 78, which is a continuation of the Christopher Reeve Superman, my personal Superman of choice. So I'm also looking forward to that. This was the book I was the most excited about this whole month. I was very, very excited for this book, and I thought it was fine. I don't know who Sam Hamm is, but I also, I think part of my problem is that I don't, who's Sam Hamm?
He was the writer of the screenwriter of Batman.
No shit.
From 1989.
and he was notoriously or famously fired from Batman Returns.
Yeah.
Tell me more. Why was he fired from Batman Returns? How do I not know this? I'm ashamed of myself.
Burton wanted to do something else. So there's
that makes sense.
there's a bunch of like I don't know if they are still anymore. Probably it's the internet. There was a bunch of like original drafts of Batman and Batman Returns, his versions of those stories, just like rolling around.
Yeah, because Burton changed his script for Batman, for Batman 89 around a lot too, and and you know he took the job, he signed on, he did the job, but he's like, yo, dog, like we made some dumbass changes, like. She's not supposed to just show up in the fucking Batcave and just be like, "Oh, hi, Bruce." Like no. All of that.
I also remember reading the novelization when I was a kid, and the ending is very different. That's the first time I ever read a novelization of a film that I guess used the original script as opposed to, or at least was so different from the original script that it was noticeable in the novel.
The novelizations have to start either during or before filming. Right. So they only go off the script in some like pre-production art.
Yeah. But yeah, the end has like Batman in a cowl, but the rest of his suit is a tuxedo, and he gets on a police horse, and there's a police horse chase. So it's like Bruce Wayne in his bat cowl wearing a tuxedo riding a horse.
Yeah.
Fucking weird. Anyway. So that's kind of cool. Thank you for letting me know. That's embarrassing. I feel like I should know that, Sam Hamm. The comic was just fine. It was interesting enough. I'm definitely going to read the entire series. Like, I'm still excited about the series, but even Noel was like, you're going to suffer from like over expectation on this. You know that, right? And I was like, yeah, I know. It's fine. And that's exactly what happened. It's a pretty fun little comic. I liked seeing Colt 45.
Billy D. Williams.
Two-Face is coming up, right? I guess we're gonna have a Two-Face of Billy D. Williams, as was promised in Batman 89. They wound up recasting him as Tommy Lee Jones, and so that's kind of fun. And we get to see Robin.
That's your benchmark for Billy D. Williams.
Billy D. Williams, yeah. Isn't that everybody's?
No.
He was in some movie about a Star Wars something.
He's crossed paths with like every single popular fiction franchise, and it's just like, oh, those beer commercials, those commercials from the mid 80s to late 90s. That's the ones. Yeah, that one. I'm sorry.
Well, to me at the time, when those I think those beer commercials were happening, I was like, oh, it's that guy from Batman. So
I don't even remember those.
No, the beer commercials even predate Batman.
Probably.
Or maybe it was when Batman came out. I was like, oh, that's the guy from the beer Colt 45. Anyway, what did you guys think of Batman 89? Oh, one final comment. One of the things I like so much about Joe Quinones' sketches for the Batman 99 were how good the likenesses were. And I don't know if it's on purpose, but I feel like some of the likenesses of Bruce Wayne fluctuate wildly in this comic book, and I'm also confused as to the timeline. What time period is this? Because when we finally see Bruce, he's an old man with gray in his temples and stuff. So I guess it's, I assumed it would pick up directly after Batman Returns, but this looks like it's in the future from that. So anyway,
I think they're overcompensating, because if I remember from Batman Returns, there is a slight hint of gray in Michael Keaton's hair there.
Really?
It's certainly not super prominent at all, but I think there's and I think he maybe just ODs on it here.
I think the colorist went a little crazy with it. Like if he, crossed hatched side hair and just like make it salt and pepper, but the colorist was just like, Reed Richards, got it.
right. Also, his head is so long. Just the drawing of Michael Keaton, he's got like a really long face.
So the likenesses in the actors or in the characters reminded me very much of how they did that first run of Buffy, Georges Janty. They looked a little like the characters, but they weren't so slavishly the actors.
Right.
And it wasn't a legal choice. It was just, that was his art style. And you were able to see the difference between Buffy and another blonde, but it didn't exactly look like Sarah Michelle Gellar. So I just kind of switched that in my brain and I was fine.
But you say that wasn't a legal choice, but I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't.
This was?
Yeah, because
maybe
we grew up in the time where, in Marvel's Ultimates famously were made Samuel Jackson, Nick Fury in that comic book. And if you remember, the original comic book Wanted had a Eminem as the lead and Halle Berry as the other, like the cat chick or whatever in there. They messed around with that. In today's culture, you use somebody exact likeness. Oh, they're coming after you for some piece of coin for that.
Well, I wonder also.
Go back into that. JD, you're moving. Yeah, that's Steve Dillon, dude.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I wonder also, Len, in those instances, those actors hadn't portrayed those characters. So you could just be like, oh, yeah, it's a thing that looks like this person that exists or whatever. Whereas this would be even more like
this
Michael
would be
Keaton
more
was
egregious.
That character. Yeah.
So you probably like you. It's one thing to do it as a sketch that you put out on the internet, but if you're going to put this out there for publication, which means pay, you're going to like maybe tweak it a little bit so it looks kind of like Michael Keaton and Billy D. Williams.
And I was just reading about Crispin Glover this morning on an unrelated topic, but we all know he changed the rule, or he got the rules changed about using somebody's likeness, and that may apply in this case. Like that whatever legal precedent may apply, even if it's not film. I don't know. I have no idea.
It's all conjecture. It could just be an artist choice too.
That's true. I really liked how the costume was portrayed, though. I thought that worked really well. The Batman '89 costume, but with white eyes.
They're all Burton characters, all of them.
Isn't that cute?
Yeah.
That's cool. I hadn't noticed
Lydia Dietz, Mars Attacks. You even got the two characters from Beetlejuice down here on the left.
Oh, that's awesome.
So when I saw JD yesterday, I had read this earlier this week. When I saw JD yesterday for the first time this week, I asked him if he had read this yet, and I was washed with a wave of relief when he said it was just fine, because I was afraid that I was going to be the only one that was like, it was fine. So, and I didn't want to yuck his yum, knowing that you're so very, very reverent to the original source or to the source material. So I was like, okay, that's okay. I thought it was mediocre. Yeah. It was just mediocre. I'm not exactly sure what it was. It was mediocre. I think it's the script. The art's fine. It's serviceable. But the script is so front loaded, and I don't, even though I've seen the movie and I'm familiar with all these characters just in general anyway, everyone sounded off. Everyone sounded off. like from Jim Gordon to Harvey Bullock. Everyone just, I don't know. It was weird. It was like I was reading an outline. I didn't really enjoy this very much, unfortunately. I was really excited for it too, because this is not just about Batman 89. This could have potentially been kind of a way to revisit all types of different continuities in multimedia.
Mm-hmm.
Like if this was popular, then we could see sequels to other things, and we could see, because like Boom Studios has figured it out with Buffy and Firefly, like they can continue IP, but Marvel and DC sitting on all this stuff that was popular to some franchises. They haven't done it yet.
It's still
So
Superman 78, awesome. If that is well received.
I am not excited for that at all because I don't care for the creative team at all.
Oh, I don't know the creative team.
I don't like Robert Venditti and I don't like Alfredo Torres. So like even if it's a beloved property, I'm not fans of the creative team. So it's I don't know. This to me, this was like the shot across the bows that could have been awesome, and it was just at best fine. The end sequence when he meets the family and stuff, that's the only thing that felt organic in the entire story.
I like that too. I thought that was a really interesting way to introduce Robin.
That's all that was cool. That was the only thing that was really cool in this. All the machinations of Harvey Dent, I didn't care.
I mean, we have talked before about when novelists transition into writing a comic, and that it sometimes their more prose approaches don't really work as well in comics. And I don't know how many comics Sam Hamm has written, but he doesn't have anyone to act.
Arguably,
words,
arguably, a screenwriter should be a like less of a heavy lift than a novelist because they are used to just dealing with dialogue and scene setting, right? In their but like, less is more.
True, but also they're used to like this other stage in the process. They don't do a finished thing. You know what I mean?
So I wonder. That's up to Joe Quinones. Like just like it's up to the actors, it's also up to. I'm saying. I'm not disagreeing that maybe he's having format trouble, but comparing it to a novelist and a professional screenwriter, I think it should technically be a lighter lift for a screenwriter than a novelist. A novelist having hundreds and hundreds of more words to set up scene, whereas a screenwriter should be very used to dialogue setting, action kind of thing, right?
Well, I think the other thing that might be messing up. Sam Hamm does have some comic book credentials in his back. Not a lot, but he's got some because he was definitely a name because of the success of Batman 89 and did some work for DC around that time on Batman. But I think what also is, we're bumping up against is that Sam Hamm back in 1989 wasn't a young dude. So he's a older guy now. So, he's writing from a totally different point of view with a total different sense of writing and aesthetics and his whole read on these characters and trying to harken back to how he felt in 1989. Like, I think the Harvey Dent, and maybe it's because I hear it in Billy D, the dialogue in Billy D. Williams' voice comes off as authentic, as in, I can hear Billy D. Williams saying this. Now, that being said, I like Billy D. Williams, but I don't think he's the world's greatest actor anyway. So so him saying mediocre dialogue sounds about on par for Billy D. Williams. So it read as true to me. I think the biggest problem that I had with the comic, and I kind of like agree with you and Noel JD, it's just like is that pieces of the story feel like things I've seen before, like a big jail heist in the beginning. I've seen that before. Harvey Bullock Harvey Dent going to, play hero. I've seen that before. The Robin thing I think feels more organic because we haven't necessarily seen that before. But if you remember the original origin of Jason Todd, it kind of feels a little bit like that too. So I was like, I've seen this before. It's just been cast different. The only thing that sounded even a little different was Barbara Gordon is a cop now. Okay. And she didn't look like traditional redhead Barbara.
Batman Beyond though. She was She was
Okay,
the commissioner.
well, yeah, all right, but that's old Barbara. That's
That's true. That's a good
lived
point.
the life Barbara. This is young, sexy Barbara.
That's true.
Look at her with her shoulders all out.
You know who I
I
think
did
that
think
is?
it was weird to not give her red hair. Like,
Is that Sean
Why?
Young?
No, I think
Eh.
it's oh shit,
Winona
Heather,
Ryder?
Stranger Things.
Winona Ryder? Yeah, I could see that.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Sean Young would have been a good pull. I see what you're doing there, Noel. With
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
But I seem to remember, and I could be. Oh, now I gotta. I'm not home. I would break out my back issue magazine that's all about Batman '89, the movie. But I seem to remember that Winona Ryder played a part, or possibly was considered for a part in
That does
the
sound familiar.
Batman universe.
And would make sense as to why he. Oh, there we go.
Oh, you got one for yourself. There you go.
Huh.
Or
Now,
is that-
guys, I didn't feel like.
I thought I
didn't
had
think
my
the
copy.
dialogue-
I don't. Yeah.
Go for it.
That's a great issue. And if you
I
had
have
read it
somewhere in there.
instead of just having it in your store,
Huh.
you'd have heard the name Sam Ham.
So
Oh,
I have mine. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, I may have read the name Sam Ham, but it didn't stick with me enough to be like, oh,
Yeah.
this is the writer that did
Yeah.
that.
How can you forget a name like
Sam
that?
Ham. He
Sam
sounds
Ham.
like he's from a Dr. Seuss book.
I have
Looney
mine.
Tunes.
I have mine stored in my. I loaned JD one of my absolutes, so all of the magazines that I have are just in that absolute sleeve. Yeah, so like my magazine is in my Wonder Woman Azzarello sleeve.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was so much stilted, although it kind of amounts to the same thing, as it felt like a tie-in comic to the movie back then. You know what I mean?
It's in a
Like
cereal
that-
box. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's just like Batman set pieces that you know from Batman. You know, doing a little more Batman stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, I almost always have a problem going from one level of reality like down to something.
Yeah.
You know, if it's I don't usually read books based on TV shows, even if I really love the shows and I like, you know, like just that kind of thing. It doesn't feel like the same thing. And this doesn't, you know, it's not going to be another Batman movie starring Michael Keaton. Yeah.
So even
You
though
know
it's
what? I
30
wonder-
years removed, it still has that effect on you.
I think it's more of a lack of effect is what it is. Then I'm like, oh, this isn't the fullness of the other thing. It's still good. Like, it's still cool, but it's not something that I usually like slot into the, like, is this continuity with those movies? If you want it to be, sure. But, you know.
I wonder if I would have liked it better if it was an animated film, because then you would get the score and everything, which is a big part of that movie.
Ooh, that would have been awesome. Like the Batman
Right?
66 animated stuff was great.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. All right. Let's move on. Let's see. Defenders #1 from Marvel Comics by Al Ewing with art by Javier Rodriguez. When existence itself faces extraordinary threats, it needs an extraordinary defense. And that's when you call ... the Defenders. Doctor Strange and the Masked Raider take a non-team of Marvel's weirdest, wildest heroes on a mission that will uncover the hidden architecture of reality itself. This cosmos was not the first to exist. But if the Defenders can't track Marvel's oldest villain through the deepest trenches of time, it might be the last.
What?
Goddamn.
This Javier Rodriguez of History of the Marvel Universe, written by Mark Waid in Treasury Edition. Also
Oh,
now
glad
in
I
trade
got some
paperback
luck.
edition. Beautiful.
Nice. The art on this book was awesome too. He does a really
Yes.
good Silver Surfer and a very good Doctor Strange too.
He does a really good everything.
Yeah.
Javier Rodriguez is great.
Yeah.
I read this last night at like 11:30, and then I read it again at 12, and I still don't entirely know what the fuck happened, but I still kind of liked it.
Same. Although I think I
have
know
no
what
idea
happened.
what
I think I kind of got it.
Yeah, I got what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anything about the Defenders, so all of like the cloud and this and that and the type and the planet that they end up at and what they're doing.
Oh, you don't know what planet that is?
Hang on, I read it and I was just like, this. They're saying it and it's even bolded in the dialogue, like it means something, but I don't know what the fuck it is.
So you
Well,
still
if you
don't
read
find
the
out?
History of the Marvel Universe by Mark Waid and Javier Rodriguez, you will know
they do
that
not get into it.
It wasn't the history of the last Marvel Universe, JD. It was this one.
Yeah.
That
I
is
mean,
Galactus'
this is
home
the reality. This is the reality before Galactus, because Galactus is a holdover from an unseen crisis, right? An unseen crisis on Infinite Earth sort of thing, where like all of reality ended, and he was the last remaining person to come from that previous version of the Marvel Universe that we've never really seen, and now he devours worlds on our reality, right? Am I have that correct? Do I have that correct?
Yeah.
But what's Omnimax? Is that a
So
thing
that
I should
is
know?
that must be the Galactus of
that universe.
or that universe.
Oh,
Right.
so that's the Galactus before Galactus, and this Galactus, the person that survives whatever this is going to be, will be our Galactus, just like how in the History of the Marvel Universe, which is told by Franklin Richards, who ascends to the next universe, will become their Galactus.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's awesome.
And and that planet, Galactus was Galen of Ta. That is his home planet. Is where they land up. Yeah.
Ah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. I like it more
now. As far as knowing anything about the Defenders, you don't need to know anything about the previous history of the Defenders. Really, the only tie into the original Defenders in this is Doctor Strange, who pretty much has been in every comic book permutation of the Defenders, and the Silver Surfer, who was kind of dipped in and out, but was in the original Defenders. And even then, he was in there for like a couple of issues, and they realized, oop, he's too powerful. Let's ship him out. But other than that, you don't need to know anything else. The Masked Raider, he actually was a Western hero, and now they've retconned him into he's been a Masked Raider of 9,000 different things. Nobody can just be one of
one.
Well,
we did that on the show, I think. That was Marvel 1000.
Yeah, I remember that. And
everybody gets a fucking legacy now. So now the Masked Raider was a legacy. So that's all you really need to know about him. Other than that, he's basically the question in this fucking comic book.
Well, he has powers, though, also.
Okay, they switch it up. Of course, they got to change it up.
His mask allows, I remember this from 1000, his mask allows him to match whatever his opponent's able to do. So even though he doesn't know magic, when Strange comes at him with magic, he's able to defend it instinctively. Like the mask only matches your opponent, which I thought was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so he's the Masked Raider, aka Taskmaster. Then,
and we had a conversation about how if he went up against a baby, he would still have his full man strength. He would not be reduced to the strength of the baby.
Yes, Justin, the Hulk was a defender at a point. Justin Agnew asked, was the Hulk a defender at a point? Yes, the original defenders were Doctor Strange, the Hulk, Namor, and the Silver Surfer. Those were the original defenders. The classic defenders were Doctor Strange, the Hulk, Nighthawk, Valkyrie, and then sometimes Hellcat. That's the classic.
Marvel's defenders are Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and
Jessica
Jones. Thank you.
No, that's Netflix Marvel.
Wait, hold on, no.
Marvels.
It was Bendis and Marquez, 11 issues, and it was fantastic. It was all street level, and they took the name Defenders.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, so they co-opted the name Defender.
Yeah.
I mean, you went classic, and then and then original and classic. I figured like new street flavor.
And their deal, like one reason why their history doesn't matter as much is because the way that they come together in this book is how they always come together, right? Yep. Like they're not
just
team.
Random.
Yeah, or like he pulls in whoever he can or has to. Like they've never really been a cohesive group. They're just like there.
Despite not completely understanding the ins and outs, all the things that are being referenced, which often happens with an Al Ewing book, he is very seated in historical as well as just like fiction knowledge, and he doesn't talk down to you as a reader, which I've always appreciated. And despite all of that, I still enjoyed this, not knowing, which to me tells me it's an even stronger book than I maybe realized. You know, like even when it's confusing, it's still engaging. The art is still spectacular. The pacing was still really fun. And you understood at least the characters' kind of motivations where they were in the moment.
Yeah.
So like the climax at the end, I did not know where the fuck they were, what the fuck they were looking at, and what the fuck happens next. But I understood like, oh, this is a reference. This is a big deal. That thing looks like Galactus. What's happening next? Like even the way that they presented it to me indicated to me that this was enjoyable.
Nice.
That makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Agree.
Yeah.
Whereas other things would make it feel like it's impenetrable or at arm's length. This like invited me in and the inside jokes. Come in. It's fine.
The only part of this that I didn't get into was the like, why does the masked raider? Why do they fight in the beginning? Where it's like apparently no reason, and then he's
points
like,
a gun at him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like he points a gun at him, and then in the mid-fight, he's like, "Actually, let me tell you what's going on." Like, why? This was one superhero beginning fight that I thought was not that well founded, but then we were up and everything was fine.
And apparently, this ties into the Iron Man series that I am not reading that I want to read.
Did that come out a while ago?
It's in issue like 10 or 11 now.
Okay,
yeah.
And this is referencing like issue 2 or something. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess the whole Korvac thing is actually like over there. It has nothing to do with this story. They were really just like setting up.
Yeah. Which I think was also in Marvel Universe 1000, where that group also is the group that created Adam Warlock. I think the thing with that scientist is really interesting, where he's got this magic to go back in time. And I thought also the guy who created the magic was very cool. I don't know if that's a pre-existing thing in Marvel continuity, but he like becomes all powerful and he decides to make himself the creator of everything, but let everything else play out as it had been because he just wanted the knowledge of it or whatever. I thought it was an interesting side note.
He just wanted the omnibus.
All in one.
Get it.
Cool.
Yeah, this was a fun book.
Cosmic stuff.
Also,
cool.
I really like this scientist sensible sneakers.
Yeah.
He is on his feet all day.
Yeah.
Doing
And he's the kind of scientist that probably
spells.
runs, from things or from various people trying to stop him from doing whatever he does.
I also just love how Javier Rodriguez depicted the magic too, like the book having different pages and then it turns into the tea bag in his tea. Like it's all so thoughtful.
Yeah.
This page here, so good. With the tea steam making the story. I thought that was really nicely done. The shading, the coloring on it it's a beautiful page.
Well, here's one thing I will say about Javier Rodriguez, and there's tons of great things I can say about him, but he does not take a page off. He's always imaginative with his layouts, his panel designs, but never in sacrificing the storytelling. And that is, I appreciate so much. Me and JD, we've talked about it, about how one of our most favorite artists of all time, J.H. Williams, is a fantastic artist, but sometimes you just cannot understand what's going on in his pages.
The comic around.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful, but you lose track of the story.
Where's the bubble?
Does not sacrifice the story at all. And even if, like Noel said, if you get lost, you don't really know the characters. I mean, there's not a whole lot of character building. They kind of pretty much just come together. So you just get a rough intro into them, because I wasn't aware that Betty Banner was now the Red Harpy. I'm like, damn, they just effing Betty up. She just can't get a break. But but okay, I'm with it. I didn't know, but I didn't care because it looked cool. It's a beautiful comic book. It's well drawn. It's well designed. It's fun. It's engaging. The pacing is on point. It was dope. It was dope. It was a fun time.
Yeah, I did not expect to.
You didn't expect to enjoy it, JD?
Enjoy this. No, I don't care about the Defenders ever, except for the Brian Michael Bendis one. But that's not really the Defenders.
That's not really the Defenders.
Yeah, all of the Len was railing off there, telling out the Defenders at one point. I was like, this is a who's who of JD doesn't give a shit. All of these different characters: Silver Surfer, Doctor Strange, Namor, for God's sakes. Like, oh God, I just the team that JD cares about the least. And this was awesome. I really like the new additions. I never like reading Namor, so I'm glad that we sort of subbed out some characters in lieu of these newer characters, Red Harpy and the Masked Raider. So I'm definitely gonna check this out. I really enjoyed this.
Can we take a 2-second Hulk tangent?
Sure.
Yeah.
I implore anybody that didn't go to Free Comic Book Day to pick up the Avengers Hulk issue. Because it essentially kind of premiered Donny Cates's version of the Hulk.
Oh, sweet.
In the back issue. And it is the weirdest, but also makes the most sense premise. I don't know if I want to spoil it, but it's just like, oh, this book is going to be wildly different than Immortal Hulk. Everyone should give it a shot. It's funny.
Sweet.
Nice.
Hey, speaking of art,
I saw plenty of copies.
At Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex, 4327 Main Street. Sweet.
Yeah, that's the place.
That's the one. I'm going to compare him to two different artists. I want to see what you guys think. I see a little modernized, Steve Ditko.
Okay.
In here. And also a different style of classic, but similar in its classicness to Nick Darrington.
I see that. I can see that.
In coloring, and definitely in coloring.
I think we're going to see Nick Darrington a little later. I see Nick Darrington in the Unbelievable Unteens more than this, but yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Ditko one really, it's like a new wave of that style of art. I really appreciate his classic Marvel with modern tone and sensibilities style.
Agreed.
It's really cool. Yeah.
For sure.
Darrington let's talk about that, because I don't know if I saw Darrington personally in Unbelievable Unteens.
I'm sorry, you want?
He wants to go to Unbelievable Unteens.
Yeah, it was a great segue.
Okay, then let's jump to that. Let's see. It's the next one. We're not jumping at all. Dark Horse by Jeff Lemire and Tyler Crook. After signing at a comic book convention, Unbelievable Unteens artist Jane Ito finds herself visited by one of the characters from her own creation. But was it her own creation? Were the Unteens an actual school of teenage misfit superheroes who battled supervillains under the lead of the mysterious Dr. Miles moniker? And if so, who wiped their memories and why? As Jane's world is turned upside down and she learns the true nature of her identity, she discovers a sinister plot leading her to assemble a team she has suspected was purely fictional. This is probably my favorite book of the week. I read it this morning, and I really, really enjoyed it. This is part of the World of Black Hammer from Jeff Lemire. So I don't know if anyone else can tell me, because I've only read a couple of issues of Black Hammer, which I really liked. But I have not finished the Black Hammer series, and there are nth amount of miniseries from the World of Black Hammer. I don't know if this actually, if you have to know anything about Black Hammer to read this.
No, you
don't
need to know anything.
This feels
How
like
do they
a wholly
feature
new
into that
thing.
I think it's just set in the universe, because I don't, at least from my remembering, because having read the main Black Hammer storyline, I don't think that this touches on anything that's revealed or from that series. I think it's just the idea is that, this is set in that same world.
Is this a comic? Does this as a comic ever show up in Black Hammer?
No, not that.
Not that you notice.
Not to my knowledge either. All of these World of Black Hammer books, it's what's that thing when when everything matters, nothing matters. It's like
Mhm.
they just keep slapping it, the World of Black Hammer onto disparate miniseries that might exist, but doesn't really matter if it does. So it's just
Right.
like, how do I follow this? I don't know what it's almost. It's like how the Hellboy shit is done, like the
Mhm.
Mignolaverse. It's like
Right.
there are 5,000 miniseries. Most of them don't touch each other. I don't know how to read this, so I just won't.
Yeah. So I wouldn't. I don't sweat that. Just
Yeah.
take it as it is.
One at a time kind of thing. The only
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know
Darrington?
that it was.
No,
You don't see Nick Darrington in these faces, the face construction, and
I think it's a lot looser than Nick Darrington and less detailed as Nick Darrington.
I see. I can see. I
can
see
see
where.
it.
I see where JD is
Like just in
going with
the facial expressions.
yeah, just the way
Well,
the faces
well-
are constructed, and
Yeah, the way they're drawn, the actual drawing of them. I can see
I think
where
the
he's
water. I think the
So-
watercolor nature of it is taking away from that too.
Maybe.
Which you know, if it was colored in a
Right.
different way.
So when
Yeah.
it gets into like the comic book version of stuff in this book, I see more Jeff Shaw. And especially because I literally just read a whole miniseries about comic books kind of bleeding into the real world
Yeah.
called Crossover.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay. Like when they get to this part, this is that's like Jeff Shaw.
you think?
I mean, the way that it
Seemed
was
like
depicted in
80s.
Crossover. Yeah.
What did
Okay.
Jeff Shaw do? I'm not familiar with him.
Crossover.
Oh, he did that. Okay. Yeah, I was seeing just kind of like 80s, early mid 80s comic was.
no,
what
that's
they're
the
going
look that
for.
they're going
Yeah.
for.
Well, sure, yeah. But I don't know any of those artists to name them. You know who I'm thinking of.
This didn't hit me very much. I think I'll probably be the only one that just thought this was okay because it just was. It was a trope and theme that I feel like I've read a lot recently.
Mhm.
So I was like, all right, cool, and yeah, it was fine.
Cool.
I didn't dislike it. It just was fine. I probably will not read the rest of this.
See, I agree with you that, especially because we read a lot of comic books, it does kind of feel like, a road that we've traveled down a little bit. But I also think that this is more accessible than something like Crossover was,
Yeah.
story wise. I think the more intimate nature of this story and this book being primarily a two-man story, these two characters talking to one another as they kind of like try to rediscover one another makes it a little bit more intimate, more personal story that while it does travel down that same road, it feels different enough for me that I enjoyed it, and I found myself I can't believe it, getting invested in the story, having fun, wanting to know what was going on, waiting for the light to flick in this character's brain so that she remembers that she actually is this strobe character, wondering like about this whole Jack character who appears to be a ghost. Oh, was he a ghost in real life? Oh no, he wasn't. He was actually a brother in real life. Oh, this is kind of interesting. I'm seeing what's going here. I actually found it to be surprisingly very, very funny, original enough, touching. The art is very good, very evocative, well told, very good storytelling, and I enjoyed it. And I, like JD, think this was my favorite comic of the this week.
Nice.
I fall somewhere in between. I did like it. I liked the way that the story was told, but I did find myself thinking like, this is not anything that I haven't seen before. And not even the crossover part, although that is pretty recent and not dissimilar. Just the general idea of like these characters were real, something happened or whatever, right? It just felt that way. This is also Jeff Lemire, and I don't think that the story will continue to be like that. And I don't think I've ever read anything of his that I didn't like.
I So I have a dissimilar relationship with Jeff Lemire, whereas I try it constantly and only some of it. I only like some of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say I've read the full body of his work. Like, there's a lot of stuff of his that I haven't read.
The full body of his work is the size of the state of Texas.
Yeah. But at the same time, for some reason, I found myself when the character Jack is his name, I think, goes and meets with the artist, the writer artist. I found myself having like a more personal experience of that, or a more visceral experience that I wouldn't normally have in that state. It's like, oh no, this guy, he's obviously is what he says he is. But for some reason, I was experiencing it more on her end of like, before he does his power stuff, he could just be some guy who dressed up as as her creation, and how unsettling that would be. It reminded me of Umbrella Academy a lot too. Like their team
little bit,
is very
I got that. Mm-hmm.
There was New Mutants, there was X-Men, there was Umbrella Academy, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So what was the name of the thing at the end? The White Wraith something. I was like, like Dark Phoenix Saga. That's kind of cool.
Oh yeah. And I like that. That's like her idea of how she would finish it if she ever got around to it. But it was the whatever last adventure of their team. So yeah, there was something about it that didn't seem all that new, but it would, like, I'd check out another issue or two.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna. I say this, but time being what it
you
is.
definitely want to.
I definitely would like to. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't. Just like with a lot of the other Black Hammer series that we've tried, I don't outwardly hate this. Actually, I was just last week reading for the first time Descender, which is another Jeff Lemire book. I don't actively dislike it. It's just so. While I'm reading it, I feel detached from everything that's going on. It's like checking a box, and I started to feel that here. With Descender, I got past the first arc, and it was like, oh, I think I get it now. I think I know why people are getting this, and I'm starting to fall for it. Maybe it's just runway with Jeff Lemire. Like, he needs more one runway for me than one issue, because all that's here is like a couple of good ideas for me, and then the rest of it's just, all right, that's fine. I've read it.
Cool. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Let's see. Hey, you know what, guys out there, guys and gals and non-binaries hanging out with us, if you could like and subscribe, that would be great. You can follow us on Facebook. We stream there as well. If you look for CultPop Podcast on Facebook, we have a Patreon. So if you want to become a patron and help us, that would be great too. That would be nice. You could go to patreon.com/JohnnyDestructo. We usually use that money to buy Brian headphones when he breaks his or loses them.
Yeah,
so,
every other Tuesday.
That's right. You know what, guys? I found my old headphones in the kind of place where I'm like, how did I not see these before? They were
in my ears this whole time. So yeah, but if you don't have any money and you don't want to give us your money, that's fine. I understand that. I wouldn't want to give us money anyway. But you could just, hang out with us and tell your friends about us, and join us Monday nights at 9 p.m. when we are going to be switching from doing it Sunday mornings at 10:30 to Monday nights at 9 p.m. Same content for the most part. I'm hoping maybe we could bring back some Astropiece theaters, because those are just fun to do. Because I have baby he's finally asleep. I put him in his stroller and he's sleeping. But if you've been with us the past 6 months on Sunday mornings, that's not always the case. So we're going to move it to Monday nights at 9 p.m. and come hang out. We'll have a beer. We can all have some beers together, maybe some hard ciders. I don't know, whatever you're into. Roll a big fat blunt and puff pass as you watch us and hang out with us. We're going to move on to Hardware number 1, another comic that came out this week. This one's from DC Comics and is part of the Milestone line of DC books. This one's by Brendan Thomas with art by Dennis Cohen and Bill Sienkiewicz. Curtis Metcalf was the brightest shining star of Alva Industries, a brilliant scientist mentored by Edwin Alva since childhood. Until the failures of Alva technology at the Big Bang disaster threatened to destroy the company and Alva needed a scapegoat. Now, Curtis is on the run from the Dakota Police Department, but a man as smart and paranoid as Curtis takes precautions. With a nearly indestructible suit of armor and remarkable inventions that he never handed over to Alva, shh, don't tell, Curtis stands determined to do much more than clear his name. He's going to take the fight back to Alva himself. And now that's what they told us about the book. I wish I had read that before reading this, because I was a little confused.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 So I have very minimal experience of the original Milestone series of series from the 80s, late 80s, early 90s.
Mhm.
Early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But everyone knows Static, right? Static Shock had a TV show, which is very cool. And so I've never read Hardware before. This is my first Hardware. And I wasn't sure if anyone can tell me, do the stories here have anything to do at all with the original Milestone?
It basically is the original stories. It basically is the original story.
Oh, okay. So we're just retelling them for a modern audience.
Without the origin, because this is like other than Static, they just keep skipping the origin. Like they're reading like sequel series. Well,
no, Icon's the origin.
Icon was an origin.
Yeah,
I mean, I felt like this was an origin story as well. Like this is his, like, he used to work for Alva and then Alva screwed him over and now he's on the run.
He's in the run as like a Iron Man style vigilante that we don't like. That's how he appears first. Like,
well, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, you do just jump into it like in a like.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
It's storytelling.
It's just, it feels like this was for fans, and hot take. I don't like Bill Sienkiewicz. I don't care for like
Well, to be fair, Bill Sienkiewicz is the inker.
The inker, yeah.
This is Dennis Cohen. He also did the Question series.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't. Yeah. It's just no.
I don't think Bill Sienkiewicz is necessarily a great inker because his style is something that imposes very hard on the artist. That being said, I think Dennis Cohen, the two of them work well as far as styles. I've always been like hot and cold on Dennis Cohen as an artist. And I think that this book suffers a lot from it. All right. Look, I read this morning. I read it last night and I read it again this morning. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do this because I didn't like Static. I liked Icon. I liked Icon a lot. But I didn't like Static at all. And I was like, oh, I can't go 2 for 3 on Milestone. I can't do it. I can't do it, man. But I gotta be real. I gotta be me. I gotta be 100. And like, I don't think much of the story itself. Brandon Thomas is a cool dude. I don't think much of the story. But I'm worried. I don't want to rag on the story, but so much because I'm curious of how much of the disconnect between the story is the artist just not really giving the writer what he wanted. Because I think that this book, which is told in a lot of like close-ups and medium shots and like this downpour of rain and very poor tracking as far as the storytelling, and stay locked on that page for a second, please.
Is it the same person?
Thank you.
Yeah.
It happened.
Ladies and gentlemen who are watching this on the stream, if you look at the page that is JD has up, there are 3 images of an individual on this page. These 3, none of these people look like each other, yet it's supposed to be the same person. And JD, turn the page. It's supposed to be that guy too.
in the middle too.
And JD,
15 different white guys.
turn the
Of
page.
various different ages.
And who is that guy in the last panel? No, that's those 4 guys' grandfather, or it's the same guy. I'm like,
Yeah.
yo,
He's aging. He's like prematurely aging
The
throughout
stress.
the
and
panels.
getting younger in between. Like that that first page you showed, it's like it was Peter Capaldi, then all of a sudden Alec Baldwin, and then the guy at the grocery store, and then Jack Palance,
Very inconsistent.
and then Danny DeVito. Like I don't know what the fuck is happening.
no,
also
I don't
point
know what
out-
the hell is happening. I don't know what the hell is happening. I don't care about the story. I don't think it's well
Yeah.
told. Like I said, the story is a story as old as time. Child prodigy grows up, he becomes, this, creates this armor, if you will, for lack of a better word, that makes him ultimately become a vigilante. We
Wait,
don't
this
know
is a tale as
necessarily-
old as time.
Oh yes, yes, it's a
It
tale
is.
as old as
Well, it
comic book
is.
time.
It is. It's as old as
It's a
Stan
comic-
Lee, at
yeah,
least.
yeah.
Um,
That's true.
And and that's pretty. But to your point, you're not exactly sure exactly what he is as far as in this issue, because it wants you to care about these people coming after him, but you don't. They're faceless, so you don't know what's going on. The storytelling is very poor. He's got this running inner monologue that's going on that I don't care about because I don't know who the fuck you are. After 30 years, I haven't read this comic book. I'm like, dog, I'm sorry, this is really.
Well, it's not an inner monologue. He's talking to his suit, right?
No,
Yeah.
there's an inner
No.
monologue also.
There he's
Go
talking
back
to
a
his
couple
suit,
pages
which he
because
calls Pop. But
there's
when
a
it's
process.
the
There is a
white
comic book
text on
process
black,
problem.
it's him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Like
you're right.
that-
I'm sorry.
That is an inner monologue, and he's talking to the computer. We don't even
Yeah.
get an introduction to the computer, so it's kind of like having to do the work in our heads, which is fine. But it's a mess. This is all a layout mess.
Yeah.
Because it's his dialogue, his inner monologue, the computer responding, and action in the rain, in the dark.
Yeah.
It's just
You're also not given information about his father. So he calls the AI Pops, but they don't really give you a clear depiction of what his relationship with his father was.
Well, you
and
get the
if
white
this
guy's
is
version of it.
You get who? The boss, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Alva.
bad guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Alva, yeah.
Yeah.
That
There's
Go
not
ahead,
a
I'm
lot
sorry.
to go on where, you're like, I know that he has some strong relationship with the father because he named his suit AI Pops, and it kind of seems to embody his personality. But I think just storytelling wise, it would have been better if he gave you just a little bit more to go on, because at one point it seems like he really had a good relationship with him, and then at another point it's that he didn't. And that all being said, what's up now?
Oh, I was gonna let you fit. This was just an earmarker for when
Oh,
you're
right
done.
on. But that all being said, I think I enjoyed it a little bit more than you guys did. I don't really disagree with any of the points that you're making about the murkiness of the art's storytelling, and just the visually murky art. But although there is a point where he draws white eyes on the guy without his suit, and I don't know, it's distracting. It's like that. I always like that. Anyway, I liked it a little bit more than you guys did, but not that much.
So there's something that was really bugging me while I read it. They give you the inner monologue or dialogue of Hardware. I forget his name already. But then they switch to the inner monologue of Alva, as well as him receiving information. So it happens in the middle of the story. He's receiving information of what's his name? Marcus? What is his name? Hardware.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah,
Hardware.
Curtis Metcalf?
Curtis
Yes.
Metcalf. That's
Curtis.
it. Yeah.
Him being
Curtis.
the one that did all these things, and then your Alva's literal inner dialogue, he could never do that. I raised him from this age. How could he do that? And then the very next scene being like, you son of a bitch, I'm going to do this to you. I'm like, how do those two fucking characters meld into one person?
Right.
Like in real time, having these doubts, but then in outside voice wanting to murder him
Yeah.
because he betrayed him. Like, is this a story flaw or is this an unreliable character?
I think they're trying to weave that
it read schizophrenic and it read poorly.
I think the deal is that he is a bad dude who thought Curtis was on his side. And
I didn't get that at all.
But also had set up Curtis as a fall guy if he ever needed one.
No, well, the hook is that the hook is that Alva, while being the head of this organization and has helped Curtis Metcalf become all that he can be, he is also on the side, the head of whatever criminal organization that he's after. That's the hook.
What?
Wait, there's a criminal organization?
I told you. You're not exactly sure. He's a vigilante of what? You don't know.
I thought the criminal organization was just this corporation sucks. You know what I mean? I didn't realize there was a separate criminal organization here.
It's a mess of a comic book. It's a mess.
I also my thought process while I was reading this was, there seems to be Hardware's point of view of what happened, and then there's Alva's point of view of what happened, and they both seem to blame the other guy for it. And I was wondering if there was like a third individual sort of setting these two against each other who are supposed to actually be like Alfred and Batman, but they actually are being set against each other. If his dialogue matched with his thoughts in the comic, I would feel that way. But they didn't even if a character is having an inner monologue and speaking, they're not performing for the viewer. They don't know the viewer's there.
Right.
So his thoughts are true. His words will either match or not match that. But since they don't match, you're wondering what the fuck is his motivation? Like, what's happening?
Bye-bye.
Also, Alva, and it's not totally fair to bring this in, but Alva was one of the principal bad guys on the Static show. So I just assumed that the head of this corporation that released the Big Bang gas is also a villain here. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I got the connection for those two. The gas that turned Static into whatever he turned into happened at this BLM rally, and the tear gas was made by Alva and blood.
Yeah.
I got that. It's just, I mean, cool.
Armistead says in the comments, Hardware could beat War Machine. That's for sure.
Okay.
I don't really know Hardware's capabilities, to be honest. Like, he was not one that I was that interested in back in when they first came out. I mean, he's like a guy in a suit, and that's not usually my thing. So I don't know what his capabilities are. How they stack up.
I'll refer to you, wonderful viewer and listener, because I don't know anything about his capabilities based off of this issue to make a suggestion or to pick a side. Sure, I mean, beat him.
Also, I know enough that it seems like Hardware Curtis knows everything that he is capable of. He knows what he's capable of, and he seems to be the creator of all of these things, right? He's the Tony Stark.
That's a good point.
War Machine is not Tony Stark. So I'm going to say that this guy who creates all of this hardware can defeat the guy who's just wearing a suit that someone else made him.
That's really
Rhodey's a tactician, though. He knows what he has on. He may not be able to like rebuild it or whatever, but as a general or a soldier and a tactician, he might be able to use what he knows he has more efficiently. So which way do you want?
Maybe it's true.
All right, we're calling you out, Marvel and DC. Hardware War Machine crossover, the most anticipated crossover of the decade.
Any lucrative deal that you could make collectively, and let's just go straight to War Machine versus Hardware.
War Machine versus Hardware.
All right, what's up next? I'll tell you. It's probably Pennyworth. Is it Pennyworth? Let me scroll. Pennyworth, #1 from DC Comics by Scott Bryan Wilson and Juan Gideon, or Gideon, I'm not sure. Spanning the years between the spanning the years between the hit TV show and today, Pennyworth tells the continuing adventures of Alfred Pennyworth as an MI6 counterintelligence agent, although I think he's an MI5 counterintelligence agent.
Yeah. Right.
This time in Cold War era Soviet Russia, when Alfred and his partner receive intelligence that nuclear weapons are being manufactured near the Arctic Circle, they're off to infiltrate the remote military base to learn more. But Things don't go exactly as planned, and the
Oh, no.
ramifications of this mission may be more far-reaching than anyone could have guessed, as our present-day butler gets dragged back into his past. I'm sorry, I just has anyone here watched Pennyworth, the hit TV show?
I think it's
You know
a
what
hit
show?
in other
I
countries.
don't care about it all.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was still happening. First of all, I heard that there was a Pennyworth show happening at some point. I guess it's out. I have no idea.
No, it's
Yeah,
I think it's on.
It's like season 2. It's on Epic.
Yeah.
or
Yeah, I
some
think it's
shit.
on Epics. Like nobody gets
It's-
Epics.
It's
Epics.
big. It's big in other countries.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because I think the season 2 is going to be premiering soon.
Yeah. And I see stuff about it sometimes, like, oh, Thomas and Martha Wayne are going to be there, or this hints at some Batman thing later, that kind of thing. But I have
Yeah.
What'd you
little or
guys
no
think of
interest.
this? What'd you
I
guys
thought
think of
this was great.
Oh, cool.
Having nothing
yeah.
to do with Pennyworth, I was really surprised. This doesn't need to be a Pennyworth book. It doesn't have to be involved with Batman in any regard. I think it's a really good spy story. Coming off things like the most recent Black Widow series and the Black Widow movie, I was kind of ripe for this. I thought this was great. It's a 007 story that I actually could care about. Because I don't care about 007. He's not my kind of character. I like the relationship between him and his not girlfriend, but when we're in the same country together, we find some sheets and get under them together. I like their relationship, and I do like it does tie into Alfred Pennyworth currently, which is good. I do like that it involves what's going on with him currently, being sucked back in. But I thought this was surprisingly good. I don't know if it's 7 issues worth of good. This is a 7-issue miniseries, and it's off to a great start. I don't know if I care to read 7 issues of it. Maybe 5 would have been a topper for me. But yeah, I thought this was surprisingly good. What did you guys think?
I kind of agree with you. Like when I was helping figure out what books to talk about this week, I had no interest in reading this whatsoever. But then I flipped through and saw the art. Juan Gedeon was a fill-in artist for Donny Cates's Venom here and there when Ryan Stegman couldn't keep up or had to take a month off or was working on something else. And I loved his art style, and then seeing it here in kind of like a old school spy thriller, it just really worked, especially that first sequence of being hung over the Eiffel Tower.
That first sequence is killer. Yes.
I loved the aesthetic of the book, so I was like, maybe this will be something cool. So, took a swing on it. I think that at some parts it's overwritten.
Yeah.
Yes,
but
I agree.
it still was surprisingly really, really enjoyable. Like really, really enjoyable. Like a little bit more than a cold open of a killer movie. Especially that last reveal of his friend in the room next to him.
That was great.
This was solidly entertaining. Like somebody who I don't know this writer, maybe they're involved with the TV show, but it's a little overwritten. However, it's still structured in such a way that it's a very, very engaging spy kind of thriller. And I liked it a lot. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fun. I actually was pleasantly surprised, especially by that opening segment, because I thought it was masterfully done with having the guy speaking, but then having the overlay of his captions over. I think that was so well done, so well choreographed, if you will. And then it works out like beat wise to the reveal of Real Day. Alfred tied up. I was like, that pop. That really, I was like, ooh, okay, I see what you're doing here. I do agree. I feel like it's maybe overwritten a little bit. It felt like a little, and I think that overwrite made it feel a little longer than it probably should, because it's only 25 pages, but it just felt like this is going on a little bit. Like, where's the end? But it was fun. I actually was pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed it. I don't know that I would collect it, but it was fun.
the overwritten nature of it actually doesn't bother me because that feels like Alfred to me. He's the one
Yeah.
telling us this story, and
Mm.
you know, being nice, being the character that he is, who's also like a Shakespearean actor and all this other stuff. It seems like a guy who could go on when he's telling you a story.
It wasn't his musings that were kind of bugging me or stopping me off. It was as soon as he started talking about the inner workings of their mission, that over expository kind of approach was like when he was talking about his past, when he was talking about like what they were there to do, that was fine. But then as soon as he started getting into the history of like the people on this boat versus the people on that boat and the thing of it, like I was like, all right. It felt like it bogged down the pace a little bit.
Yeah.
That's all. But it wasn't enough to like ruin the experience. It was just like, could be more. Could totally be more because you have a visual medium to do this.
There's something I wanted to bring up. Has anyone read the Daredevil by Ann Nesenti run?
No.
I wasn't sure if I was correct in this, but I feel like it was that run that had a character exactly like this guy on screen. He's a gentleman who had organic weapons for arms. And I don't know if he shot flesh bullets or whatever, but like he had guns built into his forearms. I don't think he even really had hands. I think they just ended in barrels of guns. So I've definitely seen this guy before from Marvel Comics, but I think it was
seems like something we reviewed,
him.
Right? Like, where did we not talk about that like not that long ago?
Bushwhack. Justin Agnew chimes in. Thank you, Justin.
Oh,
Bushwhack.
Yeah, Bushwhack actually showed up in something recently. I think it was Moon Knight. He showed up in Moon Knight.
Oh, see?
Yeah, that makes sense. Didn't they point out like the
first issue of Moon
practical
Knight.
nature of transforming your arms and hands into guns for like the rest of your life? Wasn't that something? I don't know. It seems really familiar.
Bushwhacker.
Bushwhacker.
The machinations of madmen.
Indeed.
Well, yeah.
Indeed.
I mean, who's to say? Maybe tying your shoes is less important than being able to murder anyone at any time.
For sure. But how do you
To
pee?
quote Peacemaker, who knows why madmen do what they do?
There you go.
Yeah. How do you pee? You just go.
You just go. You got guns
And
for arms. Who's telling you not to
say
pee?
anything? Yeah, who's going to say shit?
Where does a guy with guns for arms? It's that classic joke. Where does a guy with gun for arms pee? Anywhere he wants to.
Exactly.
Yeah. Say something. Say something.
But anyway, yeah, I was surprised how much I enjoyed this.
Before you have to open your shop, let's talk about that big TV show that came out this week.
Oh my God, let's do it. Let's have a gutter talk real quick. Marvel's What If came out this week. Episode 1. Captain Carter was the first. What if Captain Carter were the first Avenger? Directed by Brian Andrews, written by A.C. Bradley. In an alternate reality, Peggy Carter becomes a super soldier rather than Steve Rogers and uses her newfound power to bring the Nazis to the brink of disaster. But Red Skull plans to use a Tesseract to unleash the champion of Hydra on Earth, assuring Hydra's domination. Starring Jeffrey Wright, Hallie Atwell, Sebastian Stan, Stanley Tucci, Samuel L. Jackson, and more. And more being, what's his name? I love him so much. Bradley Whitford.
Mm-hmm.
That was a nice surprise to see Bradley Whitford, or I guess hear him in this episode. I love him. He's great. So, okay. So the What If trailer dropped however long ago, and I saw it, and I was like, this animation, I don't know if this is the style that it's very CG looking. I just don't know
kind
how
of
I feel about it.
Yeah, it is.
Rotoscopy for sure, yeah. But I was like, you know what? Marvel hasn't let me down yet with most of their movies. And the TV shows have all been great. So I love that they're doing What If. What If is my jam. I love alternate reality takes on things that have already happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I grew up reading What If comics. If you're not aware, What If is a long-running series starting in the 70s.
Yep.
Where they would just take one tiny thing about a either a character's origin or a storyline, change it up, and then see how it ends up. More often than not, it ends up pretty terribly. It always ends badly in a what if.
It's always like a cautionary tale. Like, you thought you had it bad in the regular Marvel universe. Well,
yeah.
I mean, this. Okay, this doesn't end terribly, but
no, this doesn't end terribly.
No.
But like classic what ifs, the story of this first episode of the animated series What If all hinges on just one very slight moment, almost infinitesimal, you blink and you will miss it moment in time, which sets the course of the story on another tangent. And here it's when Steve Rogers is preparing to get into the chamber that will make him into the super soldier, and when asked about leaving the room, Peggy Carter just says, "No, I'm good right here." And that was all the difference the story needed, the universe needed for the things to play out so that Peggy Carter would become the super soldier.
Yeah, because she stayed, everyone else was empowered to stay, and then that means that the bomb would have to go off before blah blah blah. Like, it was just a whole series of events because a woman was like, "No, I want to be here.
I want to be in the room when it happens."
Now, no, I should correct that. They didn't all end terribly. It was just
but you're right. So I think for a while, the point of the what if stories, if there's a point at all, was to actually show you that things worked out the best way that they should have and could have. Yeah. So yes, often they would always have a kind of not a downer ending, but just kind of like and then that person died.
Yeah, well, because you can't blow up half the world in a what if comic. You can't do that in a regular comic. So I assume the writer was like, I do whatever I want. You know,
but I really do think that like an editorial kind of mandate was to show you that the way things worked out were the way that they should have.
Oh, maybe.
Like I really do think that was kind of a point of the what ifs to show, not the point, but like one of the you can't make this better than what happened. You just can't. So make sure that that's part of it. Yeah. Whereas with this one, it was like, I mean, Peggy kind of slapped. Like it was wonderful.
I see a lot of people online talking about how, she is apparently more powerful than Steve was, maybe because she started out already pretty physically fit. Justin Agnew bought the what ifs just to see who died. But who died in this one that didn't normally? Mostly nobody.
Tommy Lee Jones died, so that would make the Bradley Whitford character, who did show up in the Peggy Carter one shot. Bradley Whitford was.
Oh, was he?
The bureaucrat in that one. So the Tommy Lee Jones character being shot kind of brought that bureaucrat to the front of being.
That's cool.
And it also changed the role of Howard Stark, to a more active role.
Right.
The animation was nice. It was nice, but the physicality and the camera movement and the action beats were better than I could have imagined. Like,
oh, dude, the one scene where, because in this universe, just to let everybody know, while Steve Rogers doesn't become Captain America, he more or less become War Machine, if you want, or the prototype Iron Man, if you will. And there's a scene where he as this flying, Iron Giant, and Captain Carter go fight these planes. It is one of the best action scenes, period. That's animated or not. I mean, I was like, and I'm not a huge fan of the rotoscopy type of vibe on this animation, but like you said, no, and all of the action sequences, it works, and in that one, never more so. The way that Peggy Carter or Captain Carter is flying around in that air, it is so freaking amazing.
When action scenes are happening, when live action scenes, if they're really effective, I will like make visceral like grunts, like oof. I've literally never done it in a cartoon until this. She flips over the truck, and then she takes that guy's knee out, and I was like, "Yo, and then Bush like essentially makes him kiss the pavement. I was like, "Holy shit!" Like it was just the way that the camera angles they chose, the wide shots that they chose, and these figures, these animated figures, felt like they had weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Felt like they pushed things and got pushed by things. And
How
that was
is
impressive.
How is Captain Carter
Mhm.
animated on a television show better at fighting World War II soldiers than live action Wonder Woman is at fighting World War I soldiers? This
Right?
was amazing.
I was really impressed.
amazing.
I was saying that all day yesterday. Everybody who came in, and that's the one thing I kept mentioning. It was like the weight. A lot of animation. Everything feels just light, and nothing has consequence or weight or gravity. And there are so many scenes in this particular one where it just you can feel the hits. You can feel that everything has weight. And
the Star Wars cartoons are like a really, really good example. As fun as they are, when two Jedis are just like flipping and twirling in the air, you're just like, all right, that's cool. But it has gravitas, but it doesn't have weight. It doesn't have they don't know their physical space, or they don't affect their physical space, right?
Speaking of weight, it's a very, very, very small thing. In the midst of the climax, when she gets oh my God, there's a sword. One, it's a super, right? It's a show, whatever. There's a sword there. She picks up the sword, slices through this tentacle, and then she lands. And there's a very slight moment where you see her kind of adjust her hand to the weight of the sword in her hand. And I saw that, and I was like, yeah.
She does like a flick regrip of it.
Yep.
Like, I gotta rewatch.
It was so wildly impressive.
I love stuff like that.
I don't think it was like the greatest thing I've ever seen, but it was my expectations were just kind of, for an animated show, cool.
Yes.
But it was so wildly impressive. I was just giddy. We were watching it and we were giddy. Yeah.
The one thing I didn't like was, for some reason, and I don't know what it was, either Sebastian Stan's delivery or the dialogue itself, but everything that came out of Sebastian Stan's or the Winter Soldier's mouth, or I'm sorry, Bucky's mouth, it just felt weird.
He's not a very good voice actor. Everything was really, really heightened. Like, you almost took my arm off. Like, all right, I got it.
It sounded like, unfortunately, the days of all of the actors being in the room together when they do these things are long gone. So he probably is doing that against nobody, or just some kind of like PA feeding him the lines. And he's just giving it, it's whatever. But somebody in the chat mentioned that whoever did young Steve Rogers' voice was spot on. I see it was Tate Misbehaving on YouTube. That was Josh Keaton was the actor. And until I looked it up, you couldn't have told me that it wasn't Chris Evans. He was definitely spot on.
Yeah, they weren't able to get very few actors. Chris Evans was one of them. So Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr. is not appearing. Spider-Man will not be Tom Holland.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And there's another one.
It makes sense because Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. their contracts are over, so they they're like, yo, we're done. I'm sorry. And Tom Holland is probably a Sony thing. It's like, no, y'all get the movies, you get them for the movies, but like not for everything.
Yeah. See, I wonder contract wise if they wouldn't want to. Like, I know Brie Larson isn't doing it, and I wonder if they're like, well, we have her for this many things, and we want her for this many movies.
Well, the nature of this too is like, we don't know who the F is going to show up in any of these. Like, there may not be a Captain Marvel.
That's true too.
I mean,
what if
she's one of the first characters you see in the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, she probably is
Captain Marvel for some reason, right?
Yeah, well, that's that. Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be a Captain Marvel episode.
No, I'm just saying it's she's definitely one of the first characters you see.
Oh yeah, and Dave Bautista wasn't asked to voice Drax.
Right. And I read an article that it was just like they didn't think that they would get anyone, and then the ones that they did get were kind of like, oh, that's great.
They showed
ate up the budget.
They showed a thing in the preview of like Drax, or like T'Challa taking a selfie with Drax. And everyone's like, they didn't do it. Oh, they didn't get Dave Bautista. Why would they not bother? And I'm thinking, like, you don't know what this episode is. Motherfucker might not even have a speaking line.
Right.
It's just in a montage.
Yeah,
so just Captain Marvel may show up, but she may not say anything.
That's
We
true.
don't know.
Speaking of dumbasses on the fucking internet. Sorry, Brian Anderson, if you're watching this right now with your child, I didn't mean to curse. This about jerks on the internet. So I came across some Twitter thread yesterday that was complaining about Captain Carter because she had wide shoulders. She looks like a man. What?
I mean,
shut up. She had super soldier serum. Shut your damn mouth.
Yeah, that's crazy. Now, I think she is one of the most likely, if not the most likely, that we will see Haley Atwell in live action as this universe's Captain Carter.
I would.
Yeah, we're not going to see Haley Atwell's. No.
You don't think so?
I love
don't
Haley
either.
Atwell. I wish Carter would come back. Also, even if they made a series out of this, like a 6-issue or a 6-episode series out of this Captain Carter, I love this. I would watch more of her in present day with like a present day Avengers.
Yeah.
Like
there is going to be another. They said next season of What If is going to have another episode of this.
Also, there's a bunch of rumors. There's a bunch of rumors of the first couple. There's going to be 9 episodes per season. So this is 9 episodes. Next season is 9, and they're already working on season 2. There are rumors that the first handful of episodes of this season are going to be relatively standalone, but then things are going to start to connect to each other.
Okay.
All right.
In however way, I don't know, but I'm assuming it also has to do with all the multiversal shit that all the other shows and movies are touching on.
Well, so that's what I'm talking about. Is not. Yeah. I don't think we're going to get a Captain Carter show or anything like that. Yeah. I think she is the most likely to be seen in like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness or something of that nature. Because she's the only one of them that isn't doing something already. She's very, very popular, and she's not like, there's no main universe allegory of her in current continuity. So
I don't know.
Who knows? The fact that she's really big, though, makes it a little less likely.
I just wouldn't want a CGI'd Haley Atwell that's 2 feet taller.
That is the one thing that throws a wrench.
Like this. Yeah. I feel like this works in animation really, really incredibly well, and it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. But if they try and recreate it in live action, it might feel.
It also wouldn't surprise me if she does appear in live action. If she's just not, she's just her regular Haley Atwell size.
It wouldn't surprise me if she does appear in live action. She's actually not in live action. She's animated in a live action movie.
That would be interesting.
Oh, you
like
think
these worlds are animated.
Far with them? You think they would go that far with the multiversal kind of it all? Like, there's a cartoon version. There's a
do not think that Disney does not want their version of Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Do not think they don't want it, bro.
Now I'm interested in the end. I wonder. So
I know they. I know it. I just
what? The
Go,
thing
Brian.
I'm interested in the end, I thought that it was, when Steve Rogers appears is when she comes back. Then it occurred to me, like, it might not be. That could be, the Avengers could be long formed at that point. Yeah. I wonder if Steve Rogers is around, right? Is he, who knows what? He could be that universe's Captain Marvel, having been exposed to the Space Stone for that long, or, whatever. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I know that they did it. I know that they, CGI'd Chris Evans in the reverse in the original Captain America movie. But when was the last time you watched that movie? It's only for like maybe 5 minutes of screen time, and it's in shadow for the most part, or it's like side view, and every time he has his face turned.
I mean, they did do it for the Hulk,
but I also don't. But as a fully CGI character, like, do you want her?
Okay.
Like,
well, she wouldn't be a fully CGI character. She would be Haley Atwell that they made a little taller.
Right.
It's more than making tall. Look, I'm just kind of
okay.
I'm protective of online discourse being you've turned her into a man in live action, and I don't want to bother having those conversations. I think
you don't have to have those conversations. You don't have to talk with those people.
The conversations we'll be having at us often. Like if history is any kind of indicator, that's absolute bullshit. And her 2 seasons. If anything, I would want more Captain or Agent Carter.
Oh, those were awesome.
Right.
Those were fucking spectacular, and I want more of that.
Yeah.
This is just great as animation, and I love it.
To each our own. I'd like to see. I mean, they're going to do it with She-Hulk. They're going to do that with an actress, and then make her green.
That's true.
Yeah, it's going to be a fully CGI character, not like forget it. Yeah, you're
Okay.
right. That's fine.
Yeah, this is a great series. I really liked it. I'm looking forward. Does anyone know what the next one? I think it's got Black Panther.
I
Or
don't know
Is that the
if
next
Black
one?
Panther is the next one or the third one, but I know
Oh.
Black Panther with what's his name? With Peter. What's his name?
It's
Wait, what? You mean
with Black
T'Challa as
Panther-
Star-Lord?
If
Yeah,
T'Challa was
T'Challa,
it's,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, Peter Quill.
Right.
Yeah.
I know that's one of the next two. I don't know if it's the next one.
I'm
I'm
curious to
excited. I hope
see
they're as
how
good as
he
this
gets
one.
chosen instead of the like very specific Peter Quill. Like, is it a case of mistaken identity? Like, who knows? I'm
mean-
interested.
The Ravagers probably just fucked up.
That's
Yeah.
possible. That's very possible. I'm also really excited about the Vision one. I mean, you guys know I love the
Oh.
Vision, but it looks like a cool.
There's a Vision one. Cool.
There's a Vision one, yeah.
Yeah, in the poster they show the Vision almost like as Ultron
Yeah.
in like weird Ultron-ish armor.
Nice. Yeah, I'm stoked. I think this is off to a great start. I can't
Yeah.
wait for more.
Definitely.
What's the date that it drops? What of the
I
week?
think on
Wednesdays.
Wednesdays.
On Wednesdays, yeah.
Oh, right, that makes sense.
Everything's Wednesdays for Disney Plus now, or at least the Marvel shows.
Hmm.
Like that's what they're doing.
All right, guys. Let's
Cool.
wrap it up. I know for everyone who joins us Sunday mornings at 10:30 a.m., we are going to be moving the show starting this upcoming Monday. Well, not this upcoming, not tomorrow night. Next week will be Monday. No, what's the date of that?
23rd, August 23rd.
August 23rd, Monday night, 9 p.m. We're going to have some beers. We're going to do the same thing we do here, but hopefully with a sleeping baby. So that it can be, I can get a little bit more, I don't know what the fun. So yeah, Monday nights, 9 p.m. Join us for this. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Let's see. The Ravagers probably thought all humans look alike, said Robert Monroe.
Yeah.
So thank you to everyone who hangs out in the chat and discusses with us. Love it. And hopefully we will see you next Monday.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And until then, what's Len's? Until then, we say, Len.
Da-da-da!
There we go.